The deep void of space was quiet, silent as always. Stars burned in the distance, shining like cold eyes in the darkness. Among them drifted a fleet of alien ships. They were hunters of the galaxy, strong and proud, rulers of many worlds. Their technology was advanced, their weapons unmatched. They had crushed many enemies before, and no species had ever stood in their way for long. On this night, far from their home, their scanners picked up something unusual. A single warship, not alien, not from any power they knew, but human. The aliens paused. Humans. The word itself made them laugh. Humans were young, reckless, and weak. Yes, they had begun to spread across nearby stars, but they were still children in the eyes of the galaxy. The aliens thought of them as ants who had just learned how to build fire. "Why is a human warship here?" one alien commander asked, his voice deep and sharp. "Alone, in our territory," another hissed. "They must be fools." But when they scanned the ship, the laughter stopped. The ship was massive, larger than any human ship recorded. Its surface carried strange armor, glowing with patterns they did not understand. Energy readings spiked higher than anything their computers had seen before. The numbers made no sense. Human technology should not be able to create such power. "This is wrong," the chief scientist muttered. "Our data must be broken." They scanned again. The results stayed the same. The warship was real. Inside, the alien crew felt an unease they had never felt before. They were conquerors, used to fear and respect, not doubt. But now, looking at the human vessel, a strange feeling grew in their hearts. Fear. The warship moved slowly, calm and steady, as if it did not care that an entire alien fleet was watching. Its engines were quiet, its weapons hidden, but its presence was heavy, like a predator resting in tall grass waiting for the right moment to strike. "Maybe it is a trick," one officer suggested. "Humans cannot build such a ship. Perhaps it is empty." The commander narrowed his eyes. "Then why do I feel as if it is watching us?" On the bridge of the alien flagship, silence fell. The crew stared at the image of the human ship on their screens. It looked almost alive, like a beast forged of metal and fire. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. Its systems powered up one by one. The aliens leaned forward. Their scanners screamed with warnings. Unknown energy surged from the human vessel, flooding space with signals too complex to decode. "What is this?" It is impossible," the scientist whispered. "No human ship should have this level of technology. Not for another 1,000 years. The commander's hand trembled over the controls. He had never trembled before. He had led victories across 10 star systems. But now his instincts told him something his mind refused to accept. They were not the hunters. They were the prey. The warship turned slightly, its massive hull catching the starlight. It was a small movement, but it carried power. It was not afraid. It was not weak. It was waiting. On the alien ships, whispers began to spread. If humans had built this, what else had they built? If this was only one ship, what waited behind it? "Commander," the officer said softly. "Should we retreat?" Retreat. The word was poison to the aliens, who had never run from battle. But in the silence that followed, no one disagreed. The commander stared at the warship. He wanted to believe it was all a lie, that humans were still children with toy weapons. But his eyes told him the truth. The humans had changed. He turned to his crew and said, "Yes, keep scanning, learn everything. If this is what humanity has become, we must know, before it destroys us." And deep in the shadows of the warship, inside its steel walls, human eyes stared back at the aliens, calm, confident, watching. The captain of the human vessel leaned on his chair. His crew worked quietly, every move precise. They knew the aliens were scanning them. They knew the enemy was afraid. The captain smiled. "Let them watch," he said softly. The human warship glided forward, its engines whispering through the void. The aliens followed every movement with wide eyes. They were conquerors, but for the first time in their history they felt the heavy weight of doom pressing on their chests. The encounter had only just begun. The alien fleet floated in silence, every sensor locked on the human warship. The commanders gathered inside the council chamber of the flagship, a dark hall filled with glowing screens and shifting shadows. The air was heavy with tension. Normally, these meetings were full of arrogance. The commanders of this empire had crushed countless enemies, and their voices always carried pride. But tonight was different. Their voices were sharp, anxious, almost afraid. One of them slammed his fist against the table. "This is madness. Humans cannot build such a ship. It must be stolen technology. Perhaps from the old ones or another empire," the chief scientist hissed. His long fingers danced across the console as data scrolled in front of him. "No. I have checked it again and again. The systems are human. The design is human. But the technology, it is far beyond their known level. This ship should not exist." The words echoed like thunder. The commanders exchanged looks. None of them wanted to believe it. Humanity was supposed to be simple prey, a young race learning how to crawl among the stars. But the scans told a different story. "Then explain." "This," the High Commander growled. His eyes glowed with anger. "How can a species with less than 3 centuries in space create power sources even we do not understand? How can they cloak weapons inside energy patterns we cannot read?" The scientist hesitated. Then he spoke the words no one wanted to hear. "Because, High Commander, perhaps they are not as young as we thought." The chamber fell silent. For centuries, the alien empire had kept records on humanity. Small colonies, fragile ships, primitive weapons. They had laughed at human attempts to expand. To them, humanity was no more threatening than an insect crawling across stone. But this single warship had shattered that illusion. "Maybe they received help," one commander suggested nervously. "Maybe another empire armed them. It would explain." "No," the scientist interrupted. His voice was cold. "The design is not foreign. It carries the marks of human creativity. Strange, brutal, and efficient. No other species builds like this. This is theirs." The commanders felt their skin crawl. A whisper of fear passed through the room. If humans could build one such ship, how many more waited in the dark? The youngest commander, a rising star in the fleet, leaned forward. His voice trembled as he asked, "If this ship is only the beginning, what will humanity look like in another century?" No one answered. The High Commander rose to his full height, towering over the others. His voice cut through the silence. "Enough fear. One ship does not make a species powerful. We are the empire of 1,000 worlds. We will strike first, crush them, and remind the galaxy who rules." Some officers nodded, eager to hide their fear under anger. But others remained quiet. They had seen the scans. They had seen the impossible numbers. Deep inside, they knew this was not just another battle. The scientist dared to speak again. "High Commander, if we attack and fail, the humans will not forgive. They will learn. They will grow stronger. They may already be stronger than us." The words felt like poison. The commanders shifted uncomfortably. For the first time in their history, they wondered if they were sitting on the weaker side of the table. The High Commander snarled, his pride wounded. "You speak like a coward. I speak like a survivor," the scientist replied, his eyes cold. "Look at the readings. That ship carries weapons that bend gravity itself. Its shields drink energy like a star. Do you not see? We may already be doomed." The chamber froze. No one dared to breathe. The word doomed had never been spoken in these walls before. The High Commander's claws scratched the table. His pride demanded war, but his instincts whispered danger. He could feel it too, the weight of the human warship pressing on his mind, like a shadow. He turned to the screens. The image of the vessel filled the chamber, a giant beast of steel and fire drifting calmly in the void. It moved slowly, almost lazily, as if daring them to act. "Perhaps," the youngest commander said softly. We are not staring at a warship, but at a warning. The others looked at him, confused. A warning? The High Commander asked. Yes, the young one whispered. What if humanity is showing us only a fraction of what they can do? What if this ship is not here to fight, but to tell us that our time as rulers of the galaxy is ending? The thought spread through the chamber like fire. The commanders shifted nervously. The scientist lowered his head. None of them wanted to admit it, but the young commander's words made sense. The humans had revealed themselves in a way no empire had before, not by sending fleets, not by declaring war, but by sending a single ship that could make an entire empire afraid. The Yao High Commander slammed the table again, trying to crush the fear inside him. Enough! We will not bow to them. We will not fear them. Prepare the fleet. If they want to test us, we will show them the strength of the empire. The others obeyed, but their eyes betrayed their doubt. As the chamber emptied, the scientist remained behind, staring at the screen. The human warship glowed faintly, silent and patient. It was not moving fast. It was not attacking. It was simply waiting. The scientist whispered to himself, a truth he could not say aloud. They are not here by mistake. They chose to come here, and they chose to let us see. Inside the human warship, the air was quiet but tense. The great vessel moved smoothly through the void, its massive engines humming like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Metal corridors stretched endlessly, filled with the soft glow of blue lights. Every step echoed with discipline. Every crew member knew their role. The bridge was the heart of the ship. Screens glowed with data, showing the alien fleet watching from a distance. Dozens of enemy ships, armed and ready, surrounded the lone human vessel. Yet the crew showed no fear. Their faces were calm, their movements precise, as if they had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times before. At the center sat the captain, a man with gray hair and sharp eyes. His gaze was steady, locked on the holographic image of the alien fleet. He rested one hand lightly on the arm of his chair. He was relaxed, almost too relaxed, as if the enemy before him was no more dangerous than a storm cloud on the horizon. A young officer broke the silence. Captain, he said carefully, the aliens have scanned us again. Their readings must have reached their leaders by now. They know we're not like the ships they've seen before. The captain's lips curled into the faintest smile. Good, he replied softly. Let them wonder. Let them doubt. The officer hesitated. His voice dropped lower. Do you think they will attack? The captain leaned back in his chair, his eyes never leaving the fleet on the screen. Of course they will. They are predators by nature. They cannot resist. But that is exactly what we want. A ripple of unease passed through the younger crew members. They were brave, but they were also human. They knew the aliens had crushed other civilizations. They knew this fleet had wiped out entire worlds. To face them with only one warship seemed like madness. And yet, no one argued. Because this was not an ordinary warship. Deep within its hull lay secrets known only to a few. Weapons beyond imagination, power sources older than any recorded human design, and an artificial intelligence that had learned not just from humans, but from centuries of war across the stars. To the outside, it looked like steel and fire. But inside, it was something more. Something alive. The crew trusted their captain because he trusted the ship. Signal status? The captain asked calmly. Steady, replied the communications officer. They are watching us. No hostile fire yet. The captain's eyes narrowed. They will strike soon. When they do, we will show them why they should have left us alone. Another officer, older and battle-hardened, leaned forward. Permission to arm the secondary systems? Not yet, the captain said firmly. Patience. They must make the first move. The crew obeyed. Their fingers hovered over controls that could unleash destruction across half the fleet. But none dared to act too soon. Timing mattered. Precision mattered. Humanity had not built this warship to fight fair. They had built it to win. Far below, in the engineering decks, the ship's engines pulsed like a living heart. Crew members in heavy suits monitored the reactors, adjusting energy flows with quiet confidence. One engineer whispered to another, "Do you think the aliens realize what we're carrying?" The other shook his head. If they did, they wouldn't still be here. Back on the bridge, the young officer glanced nervously at the captain again. "Sir, what if they retreat instead of attacking?" The captain chuckled softly. "Then we will follow. And sooner or later they will have no choice but to face us. Fear makes enemies sloppy, it makes them weak, and weakness is the one thing we cannot allow them to see in us." The ship drifted closer to the enemy fleet. It moved with purpose, not hesitation. To the aliens, it must have looked like arrogance, but to the humans, it was strategy. A predator shows no fear. The alien ships began to shift formation. The crew could see it on their screens. Battle lines forming, weapons charging. The moment was coming. "Captain," the weapons officer said, his hands steady on the controls. "They're preparing to fire." The captain nodded slowly, his calm voice carried across the bridge. "Hold positions, shields up, but do not fire until I give the order." The crew obeyed without question. Trust ran deep here, forged in battles no alien had ever witnessed. The young officer swallowed hard. He wanted to ask the question burning in his mind, but fear kept his lips sealed. Finally, he forced the words out. "Captain, do you think they understand what we really are?" The captain's smile widened, just slightly. His eyes gleamed with something fierce, something unshakable. "Not yet," he said. "But they will." The bridge fell silent again. Only the hum of the ship and the quiet breathing of the crew filled the air. Outside, the alien fleet loomed, larger, hungry, and ready. The human warship did not flinch. Inside comma, every man and woman knew the truth. This was not just about one battle. This was about the future of their kind. If the aliens wanted to test humanity, then humanity would give them an answer that echoed through the stars. The captain whispered the final words only his crew could hear. "Let them come." The alien fleet held its position, but tension rippled through every ship. Their sensors screamed with warnings. Energy levels from the human warship climbed higher than anything they had recorded before. The numbers defied logic. They had scanned black holes, neutron stars, ancient weapons left behind by long-dead civilizations. But never had they seen power condensed into a single vessel. On the flagship, the command chamber buzzed with whispers. Officers studied screens with wide, unblinking eyes. What they saw twisted their confidence into doubt. "This is wrong," one muttered, his voice trembling. "The humans cannot have built this." The High Commander stood tall at the center, but even he felt the shadow pressing on his chest. His empire had conquered countless systems. His people had never bowed to anyone. Yet here, facing a single ship, his instincts screamed of danger. "Calm yourselves," he barked. "One ship cannot defeat an empire." But the words sounded hollow, even to his own ears. The chief scientist stepped forward, his long robes trailing across the floor. His eyes glowed with fear and fascination. "High Commander, it is not just the ship's weapons. Look at its energy signature. It is alive with patterns as if the vessel is thinking for itself." The officers gasped. Intelligent ships were theory, forbidden even among their people. To build a warship that could think was madness, and genius. The High Commander's claws tapped against the metal table. "Are you saying this ship has a mind?" The scientist nodded slowly. "I believe it does. And worse, it is watching us." A silence deeper than space fell over the room. For the first time, the predators felt like prey. Across the fleet, the same fear spread. Alien soldiers who had once mocked humans now whispered nervously. Engineers stared at their screens in disbelief. Strategists ran simulations, and every one of them ended the same: defeat. One young commander broke the silence. His voice was thin, almost pleading. "We should retreat, live to study them. If this ship is only one of many, we must warn the Empire. The High Commander's face twisted with rage. Retreat was dishonor. Retreat was weakness. His people did not run. "We are the hunters of the stars," he roared. "We will not bow to these humans." But deep inside, doubt gnawed at him. Another commander spoke, softer but with deadly seriousness. "High Commander, if we strike and fail, we may awaken something far worse. Humans learn fast. If they win here, they will not stop. They will come for us." The words carried weight. Everyone in the chamber knew humanity's reputation. Reckless, bold, stubborn. If they had created this warship, then they would not stop with one. This was not an accident. This was a beginning. The scientist added, "Consider this. What if the humans want us to attack? What if this ship is bait, designed to study our tactics, to test our courage? If so, every shot we fire only makes them stronger." The officers exchanged fearful looks. The thought was terrifying. A species that turned battles into lessons. A species that grew stronger with every fight. The High Commander's pride battled against the growing fear in the room. He wanted to crush this human vessel, to tear it apart and display its wreckage as proof of alien dominance. But his instincts, those ancient animal instincts of survival, screamed at him to flee. At last he growled, "We will not retreat, but we will not rush either. We will probe them, test their defenses, find their weakness." It was a compromise between pride and fear, but everyone knew the truth. There might be no weakness. The fleet shifted. Dozens of ships moved into cautious formations, surrounding the human vessel at a distance. Weapons charged, but slowly, carefully, as if even the act of aiming might provoke disaster. On the alien flagship, an officer whispered, "They do not move. They are letting us act first." The scientist's voice trembled. "Because they know we will. They are reading us, studying us, waiting for us to make the mistake." The High Commander clenched his fists. "Then let us give them something to study." Orders spread across the fleet. A small squadron of ships was chosen for the first strike, fast interceptors armed with plasma cannons. Their pilots were skilled, proud, and loyal. They did not hesitate when commanded. But in the quiet of their cockpits, fear crept in. They had seen the scans. They knew the truth. As they accelerated toward the human warship, silence filled their comms. No jokes, no war cries, only breathing. From the flagship, the commanders watched the interceptors close in. Weapons locked on. Energy flared. The first shots were fired. Beams of burning plasma shot across the void, racing toward the human ship. The aliens held their breath. And then, nothing. The human warship's shields absorbed the attack like rain falling into the ocean. The plasma vanished without a trace. The ship did not flinch. It did not return fire. It simply drifted forward, silent and unstoppable. The alien chamber filled with gasps. "Impossible," someone whispered. The scientist's voice was hollow, heavy with dread. "They are letting us know that our weapons mean nothing." For the first time in their empire's history, the aliens felt true fear. Not fear of death, not fear of pain, but fear of a future where humanity was stronger, faster, and utterly beyond their control. The High Commander's claws dug into the table. He wanted to deny it, but the truth was clear. They were facing the end of their dominance. And the warship hadn't even fired a single shot. The alien fleet held its breath. Their first strike had done nothing. Plasma beams, powerful enough to melt a small moon, had vanished against the human ship's shields as if they were nothing more than sparks against a storm. On the flagship, silence ruled the command chamber. The officers stared at the screens, unable to understand what they had just seen. "They did not even move," one whispered. "They let us fire and they ignored it." The High Commander's jaw tightened. His pride screamed for another attack. But his instincts whispered something darker. This was not a battle. This was a message. The human warship drifted forward, steady and calm. Its hull glowed faintly, strange symbols pulsing like veins of fire. The aliens scanned again, desperate for answers, but the results only deepened the fear. The ship's energy levels climbed higher beyond the charts, beyond reason. On the human bridge, the captain watched in silence. His crew waited for his command, their hands resting on controls that could unleash storms of destruction. But the captain was patient. He understood the power of silence. The longer the humans waited, the more fear grew in their enemies. Finally, he spoke. "Activate the veil." At once, the ship changed. Panels slid open across its hull, revealing hidden layers of armor unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Black metal shimmered with a liquid shine, bending starlight itself. Antennae unfolded like the spines of some ancient beast. Along the ship's sides, glowing lines spread outward, humming with unnatural energy. The alien fleet recoiled. Their sensors screamed louder than ever. The readings were no longer just high, they were impossible. "What is this?" the scientist gasped, his voice breaking. "They are bending gravity, shaping it like clay." The High Commander's eyes widened. He had seen many weapons in his life, but never something that could twist the very fabric of space. On the human ship. The veil pulsed once, and then the weapons revealed themselves. Guns the size of towers emerged from hidden compartments, long barrels gleaming with a deadly shine. Rail cannons, missile pods, and strange devices that no alien could even name rotated into position. Some glowed with plasma, others hummed with energy that made scanners fail. At the center of the ship, a great sphere opened, releasing a soft, golden light that spread like fire through the void. The alien crews froze. Their instincts told them the truth. Every weapon pointed at them could kill them in an instant. This is not a warship," one officer whispered. "It is a fortress." The scientist shook his head. "No, it is worse. It is a declaration." Across the fleet, fear became panic. Pilots tightened their grips on controls. Commanders barked, orders that no one believed in. Even the High Commander felt his chest tighten. His people had ruled for centuries, but now, with every passing second, he realized the Empire's throne was shaking. The human ship did not fire. It did not need to. Its very existence was enough. On the flagship, one commander slammed his fist against the console. "High Commander, we must retreat. This is not a battle we can win." "Retreat?" the High Commander roared, his pride wounded. "We are the Empire. We do not run from children." But even as he shouted, his eyes betrayed him. He knew the truth. The humans were no longer children. On the human bridge, the young officer whispered to the captain. "Sir, they're afraid. We can see it in their movements. Should we strike now?" The captain's eyes narrowed. His voice was calm, measured. "Not yet. Fear is a weapon too. Let it grow." The crew obeyed. The warship floated silently, its weapons glowing brighter, its presence heavier, pressing down on the aliens like the weight of 1,000 stars. The High Commander struggled to think. His mind was torn between rage and terror. If they attacked again, they might be destroyed. If they retreated, they admitted weakness. Either way, the Empire would lose. And then the scientist spoke, his voice shaking with awe. "Do you not see, High Commander? This is not their only ship. No species builds one vessel like this. If they have created this fortress, they have built more, perhaps many more." The chamber froze. The thought was unbearable. If this was true, then the Empire's future was already doomed. On the human ship, the captain finally gave the next order. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the bridge like thunder. "Reveal the heart." At once, the sphere at the center of the ship expanded. Light poured outward, brighter and brighter, until the alien sensors overloaded. The golden glow twisted space itself, warping the stars around it. It was not just a weapon, it was power itself, raw and infinite. The aliens fell into silence. None dared to speak. For the first time in their history, they felt the crushing truth of helplessness. And then the captain whispered the words that would echo across the stars. "Now." They will understand what humanity truly is. The warship pulsed once, and the void trembled. The alien fleet trembled in silence. Their first attack had failed. The human warship had revealed its hidden form, a fortress of steel and light, its weapons glowing with unnatural power. Fear had already spread through the alien ranks, but pride still held them together. They were conquerors. They had ruled the stars for centuries. They could not, would not, let one human ship break them. "Prepare the fleet," the High Commander roared. His voice echoed through the command chamber, though inside, even he felt the cold bite of dread. "Strike with everything we have." Across the void, the alien fleet came alive. Hundreds of weapons charged at once. Plasma cannons glowed, torpedoes armed, and beams of raw energy gathered strength. Their ships formed attack lines, surrounding the human vessel like wolves circling prey. On the human bridge, the crew watched calmly. The enemy was preparing for war, but not a single human hand trembled. They had been waiting for this moment. The captain leaned forward, his voice steady. "Shields to full power. Weapons hot. Do not fire until my mark." "Yes, Captain," the crew replied in perfect unison. The alien fleet unleashed its fury. A storm of plasma and fire streaked across the black. Hundreds of beams tore through space, filling the void with blazing light. Explosions thundered against the human ship's shields, wrapping it in a sphere of violent energy. The attack was strong enough to shatter a moon into dust. And yet, when the light cleared, the warship still stood. Its shields glowed golden, shimmering like the surface of a star. The alien weapons had done nothing. Not a single scratch. On the flagship, the officers stared in horror. "Impossible," one gasped. "That was our full barrage." The scientist whispered, "We cannot hurt them. Their defenses are beyond anything we know." The High Commander's pride cracked. His claws dug into the table as fear gnawed at his heart. But before he could give another order, the human captain raised his hand. "Now," he said. The warship answered. From its flanks, rail cannons roared. Projectiles launched faster than light, tearing through alien cruisers in an instant. Ships that had survived centuries of battles were ripped apart like paper. Explosions lit the void as wreckage spun into darkness. Missiles followed, streaking toward the enemy lines. But these were not ordinary missiles. They bent and twisted through space, chasing their targets like predators. No ship could outrun them. Each one struck with the force of a collapsing star, shattering alien hulls into burning fragments. Then came the sphere. The golden heart at the center of the warship pulsed once, and gravity itself shifted. Alien ships buckled as unseen hands crushed them, bending metal until it screamed. Entire squadrons vanished in a single flash of warped space. On the alien flagship, panic erupted. Officers shouted over one another. "Shields failing. We've lost contact with the left flank. Entire fleets destroyed." The High Commander's chest tightened. He had fought in 100 wars, but never had he seen destruction like this. One ship was tearing apart his empire's pride. Meanwhile, the humans were calm. On their bridge, the crew moved like clockwork, precise and focused. The captain gave orders with a steady voice, and the ship obeyed like a living beast. "Target their flagships," he commanded. "Yes, Captain." Beams of light cut through the darkness, striking the alien command vessels. The explosions were so bright they outshone the stars. The young officer on the human bridge whispered, "Sir, they're breaking." And it was true. The alien fleet began to scatter. Ships turned and fled in all directions, abandoning formation. Fear had broken their unity. The hunters had become prey, fleeing before the predator they once mocked. But the human warship did not chase. The captain watched as the enemy ships scattered like frightened insects. His eyes were cold, his voice quiet. "Let them run. Fear will do more damage than our weapons ever could." On the alien flagship, chaos reigned. Officers begged for orders, but the High Commander had no answer. His empire was crumbling before his eyes, undone not by an invasion, not by a war, but by a single human vessel. The scientist stood at his side, his voice hollow. "Do you see now, High Commander? This is not just a warship, it is a warning. The humans could have destroyed us completely. Instead, they show us only a glimpse of their power." The High Commander's pride shattered. He sank into his chair, silent and broken. For the first time, he felt the weight of true defeat. The battle was over. The void was filled with burning wreckage, drifting bodies, and shattered pride. The human warship stood untouched, its weapons cooling, its lights fading back to calm. On the bridge, the captain gave his final order. "Stand down. Mission complete." The crew obeyed, calm as ever. They had won, but they knew this was only the beginning. The young officer looked out at the retreating alien ships. "Sir?" he asked softly. "Do you think they understand now?" The captain's eyes narrowed. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "Oh, they understand. And they will never forget." The warship turned slowly, gliding back into the stars, leaving behind only ruins and terror. The aliens had faced humanity's fortress. They had survived, but only barely, and in their hearts, they knew the truth. The galaxy would never be the same again. The void was quiet again, where once there had been a fleet of proud alien warships, now only wreckage drifted through the darkness. Shattered hulls spun slowly, fires burning in silence, glowing against the stars. The survivors fled. Their engines roared as they disappeared into the black, abandoning the battlefield, abandoning their pride. The empire that had ruled for centuries had been humbled in a single night. And at the center of it all, the human warship still floated, untouched, silent, watching. On the alien flagship, the High Commander sat in silence. His once proud shoulders sagged, his claws trembling against the arm of his chair. Around him, the command chamber was filled with the sounds of broken voices. Officers reported losses with hollow eyes. None of them could hide the truth. This was not just a defeat. It was a revelation. "They could have destroyed us all," one officer whispered. "They chose not to," another added. The words spread like poison. The realization was more terrifying than the battle itself. The humans had shown restraint. They had let survivors live. And that meant one thing. The humans wanted the Empire to carry the story back to the galaxy. The chief scientist turned toward the High Commander, his voice heavy with dread. "Do you understand, my lord? This was not war, this was a message." The High Commander's eyes burned with rage, but behind it was something far worse, fear. "A message?" he growled. "Yes," the scientist replied. "They wanted us to see. They wanted us to know. And they wanted us to spread the truth. Humanity is no longer weak. Humanity is no longer prey. They are the hunters now." The chamber fell silent. The youngest commander, barely old enough to have seen true war, whispered what everyone was thinking. "If this is only one ship, how many more do they have?" No one answered. Because deep down they all knew the truth. Humanity would never build just one. Far away, inside the human warship, the crew worked with calm precision. Systems powered down. Weapons folded back into hidden compartments. The great, golden sphere at the heart of the ship dimmed, returning to silence. The young officer approached the captain, his face pale but his voice steady. "Sir, the enemy is retreating. They will carry news of what happened tonight." The captain leaned back in his chair, his eyes fixed on the stars. "Good. That is exactly what we wanted." The officer hesitated. "Do you think they will return? Do you think the Empire will gather its full strength and strike again?" The captain's smile was faint, but his words were heavy. "Yes, they will come. Their pride will not allow this insult to stand. But by then—" He paused, his eyes gleaming. "By then, we will be ready." The bridge fell quiet again. The crew knew what those words meant. This ship was not alone. Somewhere in the black, other human fortresses waited, hidden in silence, growing stronger. The warship turned slowly, leaving the battlefield behind. It carried no banners, no celebration, only silence. Humanity had no need to boast. Their victory spoke louder than words. Back on the alien flagship, despair filled the air. Officers whispered of doom, of futures they no longer wanted to see. Entire worlds would tremble when the story reached them. The Empire's strength was a lie now, exposed by a single encounter. The scientist closed his eyes. His voice shook as he said, "Our people believed humans were young, unready, fragile. We believed they had centuries to go before they could challenge us. But tonight we learned the truth. We were wrong. So very wrong." The High Commander rose, his legs weak, his voice hollow. "What are they then, if not weak?" The scientist met his gaze, his eyes dark. "They are our doom." The words echoed through the chamber, final and undeniable. The alien fleet limped away into the void, their pride broken, their hearts heavy with fear. They knew their empire would never be the same. They knew their children would grow up not as rulers but as survivors. And across the stars whispers would spread. Tales of the human warship. Tales of a species that should have been weak but instead carried the strength of gods. The galaxy would listen. The galaxy would fear. On the human bridge, the captain finally stood. His crew looked to him, waiting for the words that would close this chapter and begin the next. He spoke softly, but every word carried the weight of destiny. "Let them fear. Let them whisper. The age of humanity has begun." The warship vanished into the stars, leaving behind only silence and ruin. And the aliens, broken and afraid, knew the truth that would haunt them for the rest of their days. The humans were not coming. The humans were already here. And the galaxy was doomed.